tail end of this island is a riotous scramble of books, sand, and a spider's web.
Wow. Hiya, gorgeous. What a luscious-looking hunk of flesh you are.
Thank you, I guess. Who are you?
How charming of you to pretend not to know. I'm Black Widow, of course. The femme fatale of all femme fatales. Know what I mean? You know, I was just thinking it was time I found my 50th, another husband. It would be quite a horror, an honor to have me as a bride. Just look at my beautiful weaving. It's so light, so delicate. You'll never want to leave my little nest.
It is a lovely web, but my heart is elsewhere, I'm afraid.
Oh, drat! The loss is yours. I'm sure you'll change your mind once you consider the advantages.
An intricately detailed spider's web has been spun between a pile of books and a small tree. The web is as silent as silk. A black widow is sitting in her web. She has long legs and an hourglass on her belly. She gives Alexander a knowing look.
That scrap of paper blew into my web from those books over there. The wind just thinks it can deposit anything here.
Alexander offers the item to the Black Widow.
Oh, no, thank you, you sweet man. Like a good little wife, I have no interest in anything except my cozy little web and you.
Alexander wouldn't want that to get caught in the spider web. There's no sense in using that on the parchment. A thread is hanging from the otherwise tightly woven web.
Hey, don't touch that thread!
Alexander snatches the scrap of parchment, curious to see what's written on it. The wind blows the scrap of paper from Alexander's hand, but he remembers what it said well enough.
Oh, so there you are, handsome. What can I do for you now? Have you changed your mind? My offer of wedlock is still open.
Little bees buzz around the books as though the pages were laden with the sweetest pollen. Maybe they're spelling bees. Piles of stacked books, looking ready to topple at any moment, have been arranged haphazardly on the sandy ground. Alexander should read the books if he wants to get information from them.
What do you think you're doing?
I'm sorry, I didn't realize these books had an owner. I'm in need of a rare book.
No owner? All books have owners, my good man. And this book owner, bookworm to you, wouldn't part with one of his books for anything.
Isn't there something I can do for you to pay for the book?
Let's see. Do you have an itinerant clause?
No. No clauses at all, I'm afraid.
As an exception, you always should.
Don't mind oxymoron and diphthong. They're fairly limited grammatical principles, you know. Let's see. A marsh pig that does Texas?
No. I'm afraid not.
A dangling participle?
I'm fresh out.
A purple fiddle whacker?
No, I don't think so. Sorry.
An idiosyncrasy, perhaps?
Afraid not.
Ha! Then what good are you? Do you have anything interesting yet?
A regular abnormality?
Let me see what I have.
A very large caterpillar has wriggled its way up out of the book pile. He looks scholarly and terribly self-important.
Are you sure there isn't something else I can trade you for a rare book?
Nope. Unless you have one of the items I asked about before, I just won't part with one of my books.
Bookworm might not appreciate Alexander trying to grab him.
I have a magic map. That's pretty unusual.
And I suppose I should just go poofing about with that map and leave my books unattended for you to do with as you please? No, thank you. Do you have anything interesting yet? A fleeting moment, perhaps?
Let me see what I have. I have a large pearl.
Please, you'd think I'd take mere oyster stones for my books? Ha! Do you have anything interesting yet? A fleeting moment, perhaps?
Let me see what I have.
Alexander is carrying, oddly enough, a sentence. It says, "Where are you going?" Alexander already has a pretty good grasp on his words. Alexander sees no use for that item there.
I have a sentence. Would that do?
An incomplete one, I suppose.
Why, actually, it is incomplete.
Just as I suspected. Incomplete sentences are a dime a dozen. Why, you can literally just find them floating about. Complete sentences. Ooh, now there's something that's hard to come by these days.
I see. Sorry.
Do you have anything interesting yet? A subordinate clause, maybe?
Let me see what I have. Would you take this in exchange for a rare book?
You want to trade that? There are millions of those lying about. No, thank you.
The Isle of Wonder swamp oozes with muck, moss, and mud. Crickets and frogs sing an endless serenade, and the green filtered light adds to the sense of dampness here. The swamp ignores Alexander and continues its chirps, croaks, and blurps. The mucky swamp is no place for extensive hands-on exploration. A mushy swamp lies just off the path. It doesn't look like very good swimming. The swamp gurgles an inaudible reply. Yuck. Alexander doesn't want to put his bare hands in that oozy swamp. A cluster of cattails flourishes near the muck of the swamp.
Good day, thou most feline of fronds.
Alexander decides to pet the soft-looking cattails. Zounds, what a racket! So much for stirring up those cattails. A stick is stuck in the middle of the swamp. Alexander sees no point in trying to talk to that stick in the swamp. Alexander can't reach the stick in the swamp. The fertile swamp is dense with moss-covered trees. A large tree stretches knotted limbs out over the swamp. Part of the tree's trunk is shaped like the face of a dog. Why, it must be a dogwood tree.
My dear tree, is it true that your bark is worse than your bite?
Alexander considers climbing the tree and quickly changes his mind. Milkweed thrives near the mucky swamp. Small bottles filled with milk grow on it like fruit. Alexander takes a bottle of milk from the milkweed bush. Apparently, the dogwood tree doesn't like Alexander standing that close. Alexander already has a bottle of milk. One is enough to carry around. A tough old log lies to the left of the path. The log itself has nothing to say. Alexander doesn't have time to sit around on the log. The fallen log has a good-sized knot or bump. That bump on the log does not look particularly conversational to Alexander. The bump on the log does not look particularly interesting to Alexander. Alexander is standing in a delectable garden. Nestled in the bright green grass are colorful plants growing in orderly clusters. Some of their curious faces peer up at Alexander from the sides of the path. The garden ends at a speckled gate. Alexander says to no one in particular.
What a pleasant garden this is.
The inhabitants smile shyly but do not reply. A pretty stone path leads north to a colorful gate and south to the oozy swamp. The path continues on its way without comment. Unless Alexander is mistaken, those plants must be baby's tears.
Hello. Aren't you a bunch of fine-looking young plants?
Apparently, the baby's tears haven't learned to talk yet. Alexander doesn't want to pick the baby's tears. They may not be done growing. Vines of sweet ripening tomatoes climb up little wooden posts.
Good day, tomato vines.
Good morning.
Those tomatoes are not quite ripe yet, and Alexander shouldn't pull them off the vine. Alexander takes a close look at the tomato in the ground. It appears to be darker than those on the vines.
What are you staring at there, boy? Go away, you rootless thing, you! Yeah!
Yep, that tomato is definitely rotten.
How did you manage to fall off the vine, Mr. Tomato?
What do you think? I'm old, I'm rotten! Yeah! Leave me alone!
If you say so.
After all, you're just gonna let me sit here and rot on this dry ground like everybody else, aren't you?
Why, I don't know. I suppose...
Ah, never mind! Just go away! Ah!
Rotten Tomato is rather put out with Alexander and won't pay attention to anything he says.
Hey! What do you think you're doing there? Get your hands off me! Hey!
Alexander picks up Rotten Tomato and puts him away. One never knows when one will need a rotten tomato. The old rotten tomato gives Alexander a mean look and grumbles sourly.
Hands off, you! Where were you born, a barn? It's a pigsty back here. Yeah, all this stuff you got. What do you want to carry all this trash around for?
Alexander doesn't even like to eat plain tomatoes, much less that rotten one. Is that lettuce growing in the garden? It looks a little chilled. Why, it must be iceberg lettuce.
Excuse me, lettuce.
The lettuce just gives Alexander the cold shoulder. Alexander picks a head of iceberg lettuce.
Ye gads! Is that cold?
Alexander replaces his watery lettuce with a freshly picked specimen.
Ye gads! Is that cold?
To the right of the path is a little coffee table. Though it is a conversation piece, the coffee table doesn't talk. Alexander is too far away from home to think about taking furniture back with him. A colorful array of snapdragons stand guard to one side of the path.
Good day, snapdragons.
The snapdragons don't seem inclined to communicate with anyone. Alexander approaches the snapdragons. Those unfriendly snapdragons don't want Alexander anywhere near them. The wallflowers look terribly shy.
Greetings, ladies. How charming you look today.
The wallflowers are too shy to talk to Alexander. Zounds! Those wallflowers sure are shy, and the snapdragons are awfully protective of them. Alexander can't even get close to the wallflowers without causing quite a stir. A gray brick wall marks the end of the garden. Alexander's voice just bounces off the wall. Alexander could climb the wall, but then again, there's a perfectly good gate. There appears to be a hole in the garden wall. Through the hole in the wall, Alexander sees a land that resembles a giant chessboard. Wow, it really is a hole in the wall. Zounds! Those wallflowers sure are shy, and the snapdragons are awfully protective of them. Alexander can't even get close to the wallflowers without causing quite a stir.
What a curious little black spot.
The hole in the wall does not reply. Alexander decides to pick up the hole in the wall. A hole in the wall could be a very useful thing. Alexander startled the poor thing. It's run off to hide behind the wallflowers. Alexander must have startled the hole in the wall because it's taken cover behind the wallflowers.
Don't be afraid. I won't hurt you.
The hole in the wall does not respond to Alexander's soothing voice. Perhaps it's going in one ear and out the other. The wallflowers, overcome with shyness at Alexander's approach, cluster together and cover the hole in the wall. Alexander can't get it. An elegant padded chair provides a cushy seat from which to enjoy the lively garden. Unlike the rest of the garden, the chair has nothing to say. Alexander would love to sit a spell, but he's a tad busy at the moment. Clinging vines climb the garden wall.
What curious clinging vines are on this wall?
We know we're fascinating, but no one ever visits us. We're
That's too bad.
We just want to be liked. We just want to be hugged. We've been clinging to this wall, but he's gotten boring.
I see. Perhaps you should find a new place.
Don't be stupid. We're clinging vines, not particularly mobile.
No, I don't suppose so. Well, good luck.
We don't feel like talking. We just want a hug.
Two fat stone pillars surround the gate. Above them float pieces of stone that seem to be in open rebellion against the laws of gravity. The stone pillars feel just like the wall. A curiously speckled gate marks one end of the garden.
Gate open!
Evidently, opening the gate requires a little more effort on Alexander's part. Alexander is standing at the edge of a strange land with rolling checkered hills. Two chessboard knights stand before the marble entrance, guarding a path which wanders like a ribbon into the velvety hills. Calling out into chessboard land would do little good. Alexander cannot reach chessboard land. The entrance to chessboard land consists of a stepped marble bridge with astonished-looking pillars. The marble feels just like marble. The sky of chessboard land is a brilliant shade of blue and has heavy cotton candy clouds. The cloudy sky has nothing to spill. The sky is beyond Alexander's grasp. A noble white chess knight stands at the top of the marble stairs. A red chess knight stands at the top of the marble steps.
Excuse me, what land lies beyond?
What land? Chessboard land, you knave!
I see. And is chessboard land part of the land of the Green Isles?
It is the home of the red and white queens, rulers of the Isle of Wonder, fairest of the islands that owe loyalty to the king of the land of the Green Isles. But perhaps not for long.
What do you mean?
What is the purpose of unity with the great king and queen dead? The princess is worth serving, but the feud with the other isles is strong.
I must insist, Your Highness. I shall send a lump of coal to the Vizier and the Princess as a present for their wedding, and that's the end of it.
And I suppose you'll leave me with only this stupid spoiled egg to send, Your Highness. I want to impress the new king and queen of the realm as much as you do. As queen of this island, I have every right to that lump of coal.
Who isn't queen of this isle? The lump of coal is in my possession. Therefore, I shall do as I please with it. Besides, there's nothing wrong with that spoiled egg.
The egg, though delightfully spoiled, is not nearly so valuable as the lump of coal, and you know it. Your Highness always got to carry the singing stone. It's not fair that you get the coal, too.
That doesn't count. The singing stone was stolen by that horrid beast. I should get to keep the coal just because my stone was stolen.
It wasn't your stone. It belonged to the Isle of Wonder treasury. Your Highness always thinks that everything is hers.
Excuse me, my good man, but could you settle an argument for us?
Which of us should get to carry the coal and which the egg? Remember, white is the color of deserving truth and virtue.
Quiet, Your Highness, and let him make up his own mind. I, for one, shall be more proper, and not even mention the fact that red is the color of love.
I'm sorry, Your Majesties. I'm partial to both red and white, but I'm afraid that I don't know how to solve your problem. One of you will just have to be gracious and allow the other the lump of coal.
What a ridiculously stupid idea!
Quite ludicrous.
He was a lot of help, wasn't he?
Oh, yes. Obviously a man of high intelligence. The lump of coal goes much better with my gown anyway. Black and red are imperial colors.
That's the silliest thing I ever heard. Red does not go with anything, being much too self-conscious. White is the perfect accompaniment to any color.
Can I pass into your fair land?
Heavens, no! No humans allowed in chessboard land. Never have been, never will be. Checkmate! Only chess pieces allowed in chessboard land. That's right. Humans aren't allowed in and never will be. Stay out!
The Red Queen has dropped her scarf on the steps. Alexander picks up the Red Queen's scarf. The scarf is made of red silk. The silky red scarf would not make a very good accessory for Alexander's wardrobe. Alexander decides against wearing the flamboyant red scarf. It really clashes with his green tunic.
I found a red scarf. I believe the Red Queen dropped it.
The Red Queen is always dropping her scarves. She thinks it's fashionable. Keep it, and consider yourself honored.
Alexander is carrying what little remains of a head of iceberg lettuce. The lettuce is rapidly melting. The iceberg lettuce is cold, wet, and not good eating. Alexander's hands only make the lettuce melt faster.
Would you have any interest in this?
No, we knights neither carry nor own anything whatsoever. Quite so. It only bogs us down. Mobility, that's the key.
Alexander replaces his watery lettuce with a freshly picked specimen.
Ye gads! Is that cold?
Alexander pulls out his magic map. Alexander feels a strange pulling sensation. Alexander is standing at the edge of the sea on a heavily forested island. As far as the eyes can see, tall trees spread out their branches as though straining to link arms, their tops forming a canopy above. A path leads north through the forest. The denseness of the forest makes it inadvisable to stray from the path. The dirt path starts at the sea and winds its way off into a densely wooded forest. Tall, narrow trees abound on each side of the path. The only response Alexander gets from the tree is the faint sound of wind in its upper branches. The trees have small, sparse branches on their lower trunks. They don't lend themselves to easy climbing. Nearby, the stump of a fallen tree still spreads its roots to the sea. If the tree stump is hiding anything, it's only local fauna. There's no need to disturb some creature's nest. This heavily forested isle is dotted with rough granite rocks. A little fawn is feeding on a grassy hillock near the sea. The fawn is too busy eating to pay attention to Alexander. Alexander resists the temptation to pet the fawn, thinking he might frighten it. Alexander doesn't want to do anything to disturb the local wildlife. There's an odd little creature dangling from that tree branch.
Hello, friend. Aren't you an odd-looking little fellow?
I'm not odd-looking, you are.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize you could speak.
Speak not. Funny is, speech I am and nothing but.
You speak strangely, friend.
Strange my speech is not. Eloquence I speak with.
But who are you? And why are you here?
Away I fly my home from. Lost I am, therefore. As my name, too, can you guess not? It's what I do this branch with, and the way I speak of.
If you're lost, perhaps I can take you home.
Take me home, too? Think not I do. Know you I do not.
Are you sure you don't want me to try to find your home?
Trust you I do not. Stay here I will.
Won't you come down?
Come down? Why for? No, you I do not.
Would you be interested in this?
That I like not. Take it away, do.
Alexander holds the sentence out to the creature.
This sentence seems in need of an ending. Perhaps you could finish it?
Where are you going? Where are you going? Know what I do. Where are you going to? Like you I do. Go I with you.
Well, that was certainly interesting. It looks like Alexander now has a passenger. One end of the creature resembles a miniature dragon, while the other looks like a possum. What a strange-looking fellow.
Tickle me not.
The participle is safely tucked away while Alexander decides what to do with it. Alexander is traveling on a path through a dense forest. The woods on either side of the path are teeming with wildlife. Blocking his progress north is a pond that boils with a magical intensity. A rabbit hops about rather fearlessly. It's probably never even seen a human. The dirt path from the beach leads straight into a pond. The forest is dotted with clumps of wild mushrooms. The mushrooms are fundamentally unvocal. Alexander, not being an expert on poisonous mushrooms, decides not to take a chance on tasting the local variety. A pond lies across the path. The water boils as if over some magical flame.
Listen here, pond. I wish to pass.
The pond, rather hot-headedly, refuses to respond.
Ouch! That water is hot.
Hoping to cool down the boiling pond, Alexander throws in a head of iceberg lettuce. The pond's water slowly stops boiling, cooled by the ice. It still looks hot, but bearable. The enchanted pond has been cooled by the iceberg lettuce. Though still hot, it is no longer boiling. The pond gives Alexander the cold shoulder. The pond is no longer boiling, but it's still pretty hot. Alexander decides to brave the steaming pond.
Ouch! Ow! Ooh, 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 ouch!
The pond is no longer boiling, but it's hardly bathwater. An old abandoned hunter's lamp is hanging on one of the trees. Alexander wonders who might have hunted in these dense woods. Alexander takes the old hunter's lamp from the tree. The banks of the pond, moistened by the stream, are slowly eroding away. The banks of the pond don't utter a word to Alexander. Alexander has no need to carry off sand from the banks of the pond. As Alexander continues down the path, he gets the strange feeling that he's being watched.
Come on over here and see what I'm doing with these flowers. Never mind that stone fella on top of the gate. He won't hurt you any. He's just there to scare you.
The path through the woods runs through a gated wall here. 2 stone statues stand guard on the gate's lintels. To the north, the path continues on through a hedge of roses and a dainty gazebo. A man tends to a small garden plot on the other side of the wall. The path passes through a gated wall here, and up ahead meanders past rose hedges and a small gazebo. A pleasant-looking middle-aged man is busy tending a small garden just past the wall.
I'm Alexander of Daventry. Who are you?
What difference does it make? Just come on over here. I'll tell you my life history if you still want to hear it.
Tell me.
If it's conversation you want, just come on over here. I'll talk your ears off if we can sit down and talk face to face.
Alexander can't reach the gardener from this side of the wall.
Perhaps you'd find this interesting.
Sure, bring it on over to this side of the wall where I can see it better.
A gray brick wall runs to the east and west on either side of the path. The wall seems to be fresh out of topics to converse on. Alexander closely examines the stone wall, but doesn't see anything other than gray bricks.
Come on through, I say. I can show you a path through the forest.
The statue to the left of the gate shows a man kneeling down with his spear as though waiting for a target. The stone statue doesn't respond. Alexander cannot reach the statue atop the wall. A stone archer sits atop the lintel of the gate like a silent guardian. His stone bow is tightly drawn and fitted with a single stone arrow.
Look here, Archer. Do you mind if I pass?
The archer retains his stony silence. Something about the archer makes Alexander reluctant to get too close to him. A delicate gazebo made of white-painted pine and overgrown with rose vines leads north into what appears from here to be a garden. Flowering rose hedges grow on either side of the path winding north. A brick lies in the grass. It must have come from the old brick wall. The brick has nothing constructive to say.
Look, there's no point in hanging out here all day. I can show you the wondrous castle that lies in the middle of the island. Don't be so timid.
Alexander picks up the brick.
You aren't going to listen to me, are you? Well, we'll just see about that.
That's odd. The gardener just disappeared. Alexander pulls out his magic map. Alexander feels a strange pulling sensation.
Jollo, how fare you? And what news have you from the castle?
Prince Alex, how I fare is close to boiling. Have you seen the wedding proclamations around the village? I've heard rumors of the wedding, of course, but I didn't want to believe it, and I never thought it would be so soon.
Cosima. Married. Oh, it is an unpleasant thing to swallow, friend. If only I knew Cosima wished it. Tell me about the Wazir, Jollo.
The Wazir? Now there's a dangerous subject. His name is Abdul al-Hazred. He came to the kingdom 15 years ago. The king was fascinated by his knowledge and his fine-sounding ideas. It didn't take long for al-Hazred to convince the king to trust him with the minor problems of daily government. You see, Caliph had a wife and a new daughter he wanted to spend time with. Al-Hazred became Wazir.
And now?
Well, he's had his eye on Cosima ever since she was a young girl. And she is the only thing between him and the throne.
Do you think he means to harm her?
Oh, I honestly don't know. I think he'd rather keep her as wife. But whatever his plans for the princess, he will use her to his best advantage. That's his way.
Perhaps he has charmed her. Perhaps she cares for him now.
The Wazir is capable of anything. And Cosima must be vulnerable and lonely right now. Still, she has always instinctively distrusted him. Cosima has a good head on her shoulders. I'd be surprised if she's truly fallen for his words of love. I must return to the castle, Prince Alex, and you to your wanderings. May we both fare well.
Would you have any interest in this magic map?
I'm afraid I travel very little. I just do not have time to with all the reading I do.
Would you be interested in this pearl?
It is lovely, but I'm afraid I do not deal with that sort of thing. Books and gold coin are all I can handle. You might check with my neighbor next door, though. He deals in trade.
Your candy dish is empty.
I am sorry, sir, but I have no more mints. Somebody has eaten them all.
Well, get some more then.
I fear that is impossible. Without the ferry, I can no longer get imports from the other islands, and we do not grow mint extract on the Isle of the Crown.
Oh, I hate not getting what I want.
The mint dish is empty. Alexander takes a closer look at the items on the counter.
Might I trade for that flute on the counter?
Certainly. What do you wish to offer me in trade?
Would you be interested in trading for this brick?
I am afraid I have very little call for bricks, Prince Alex.
Would you be interested in making a trade for this, merchant?
A feather? I think not, Prince Alex, but it is a very nice feather.
Would you be interested in making a trade for this, merchant?
Oh, no, thank you.
Would you be interested in making a trade for this, merchant?
I have too many lamps already, thanks.
The dangling participle wouldn't appreciate being traded into a pawn shop. Rotten tomato wouldn't appreciate being traded into a pawn shop.
Would you mind if I traded this in?
Of course, Prince Alex. Please choose something in exchange for the items on the counter.
Alexander looks closely at the items on the counter to make his selection.
I'll take the flute.
The flute? Very good, Prince Alex. May its music always be sweet. Feel free to trade it back at any time.
Thank you.
The flawless pearl is the largest Alexander's ever seen. Alexander turns the pearl slowly in his hand and sees its opaque white hue melt into iridescent colors. Alexander appreciates the beauty of the pearl.
I found this large pearl. Might it be valuable enough to ransom back my family ring?
I have never seen such a perfect pearl. Certainly you can have your ring back.
Oh, I'm glad you didn't sell it. I'm a bit attached to it, I'm afraid.
Of course you are. You would be cold-hearted if you felt any differently. I am happy to see a family heirloom back with its rightful owner.
The little flute is carved from a single piece of wood and has tiny finger holes on the shaft. The flute feels light and comfortable in Alexander's hands. Alexander plays his flute. The nightingale just looks at him curiously. Alexander holds out his royal ring, hoping that the bird will deliver it to the same place she took the poem, in the chance that the receiver might be Cosima. The nightingale swoops down, grabs the ring, and takes it towards the castle.
Sing, sing. What have you got in your mouth, my pretty? A gold ring? Sing, sing. Where did you get this? Realm of Daventry. But this is Alexander's ring. Oh, my soul. He must be here. Sing, sing. I wish you could tell me what you've seen. Is he really here, then, on this very island? Oh, if only I could leave this castle as easily as you. Take this ribbon, Sing Sing. If you know where he is, return it to him. Please be careful, Alexander. It is so dangerous, and yet I could not wish you away.
The little bird makes a delivery. The nightingale has dropped a bit of red velvet on the ground. Whatever message the red ribbon is intended to convey, It does so in silence. It's a red velvet hair ribbon. Could it be? Could it possibly belong to Cosima herself?
Or am I merely wishing it were so? Oh.
The lady's hair ribbon is made of the finest red velvet. A long strand of black hair is caught in the ribbon. Alexander examines the red ribbon and finds a strand of long black hair. The strand of hair from the red ribbon is the color of midnight. Alexander can only hope that it belongs to his true love. The strand of black hair is thick and still bears a trace of perfume. Alexander looks with longing at the red ribbon. Could it be Cosima's? Alexander doesn't want to give that back to the nightingale. She delivered it to him. Alexander looks with longing at the strand of long black hair. Could it be Cosima's? Alexander pulls out his magic map. Alexander feels a strange pulling sensation.
Would you ladies be at all interested in this?
The wallflowers shyly decline.
May I have this dance?
Oh, my!
Alexander stops playing the flute, but the wallflowers and snapdragons continue to dance, caught up in the music and oblivious to everything around them. While the wallflowers dance, Alexander snatches the hole in the wall. The hole in the wall has 4 legs and a curly tail. He's all limbs with only a hole for a body, but that doesn't make him any less whole. The hole in the wall squirms slightly in Alexander's palm. Alexander can't use the hole in the wall on himself, but if he could, he would see thoughts of Cosima. Alexander doesn't want to put the hole in the wall back on that wall. It was hard enough to get it the first time.
Do you have anything interesting yet?
A regular abnormality?
Let me see what I have.
Take me home to.
I found this little fellow lost on another island.
Coming home I am too.
There you are, you naughty boy. I told you not to leave the island.
Glad I am seeing you too.
A most solemn celebration.
So, you found my dangling participle. I suppose I'll have to give you something. Let's see now. Was it a rare book you wanted?
Yes, sir.
Well, then none of these will do. They've been sitting in the sun far too long and must be well cooked by now. This one is far more rare. A delicious little tidbit.
Thanks.
Alexander is carrying a rare book from the bookworm. The words in the binding are very faint. The something riddle book. Alexander opens the rare book and looks inside. The book contains riddles and has a page missing. Alexander glances at a few of the conundrums, but finds himself more curious about the one that is missing. What was the riddle, he wonders? More importantly, what was the answer?
Hey! Get that out of my face! Yeah! What do you want from me? A recitation or something? Leave me alone! Yeah! I got a lawyer, you know! Yeah! There's kidnapping laws in this here kingdom! You're ugly and you smell bad! Yeah! Put me down before I juice all over you!
Alexander pulls out his magic map. Alexander feels a strange pulling sensation. A group of serving women approach the castle.
Hurry up, girls! There's plenty of work afoot today. No time to dawdle.
Yes, Sergeant Gruff.
It's well that they're here, Wolf. Cook is about driven himself mad, I hear, worrying over the wedding preparations.
I won't! What a celebration there will be today! Wine will flow like a river of red!
The hole in the wall might provide fascinating insight on the castle, but the guards would never allow Alexander to get close enough to the castle walls to use it. Alexander is standing next to the side wall of a castle. Unlike the well-guarded castle entrance, this area is deserted. Perhaps the guards are confident that the wall itself is impregnable enough to stop any would-be intruders. The path turns into dirt here and continues along the side of the castle. The side of the castle is one big blank wall. Vines have begun to climb the castle's stucco walls. The vines are too flimsy to support Alexander. Alexander puts the hole in the wall on the side wall of the castle. Alexander looks through the hole in the wall. Alexander can see what looks like a hallway in the basement of the castle. It must lie just on the other side of this wall. The castle hallways are patrolled by guard dogs. Great. Maybe Alexander is better off out here after all. Alexander removes the hole in the wall from the wall.
Good day, Prince Alexander.
Alexander takes a closer look at the items on the counter.
Might I trade for that tinder box on the counter?
Certainly. What do you wish to offer me in trade?
The little hole in the wall might not appreciate being traded in like some ordinary old object that has lost its usefulness.
Would you mind if I traded this in?
Of course, Prince Alex. Please choose something in exchange for the items on the counter.
Alexander looks closely at the items on the counter to make his selection.
I believe I'll take the tinder box.
Very good, Prince Alex. Enjoy your tinder box and bring it back anytime.
Thank you.
Alexander pulls out his magic map. Alexander feels a strange pulling sensation.